Hello, welcome to Monday Morning Matters live broadcast show brought to you by Magnicraft Consulting Team, anchored by Niyi, a certified church consultant with the Society for Church Consulting in the U.S. Here, each Monday of every week, we address important, relevant, and actionable topics of interest that will help you and your church grow healthier. And now, meet your host, Niyi.
Welcome. I just want to thank everyone. Thank you for hooking up with us. Welcome from wherever you are. Let me know where you are watching me from. Just want to welcome everyone. I know it's going to take some time for people to catch up to get to join this live broadcast show. Please join us on the show. We're going to start a new series this month of September. The Ember months have started with September, and the school students are about going back to school. So I want to thank you for hooking up with me, and it delights my heart to come your way this morning, this beautiful morning. My name is Niyi Dunmade. I'm the founder and the CEO of Magnicraft Consulting. We're going to be talking about uneasy church signs to detect. We're going to talk about 12 of them in the course of the month. And so 12 uneasy signs to detect in a declining church. I'm so glad that you are part of this live broadcast show. My name is Niyi Dunmade again. I'm the lead consultant and founder, CEO, Magnicraft Consulting. Magnicraft Consulting is a church consulting firm that helps local churches to grow healthier through empirical assessments, trainings, and strategic blueprints. Okay, our vision is to be the leading church health consultancy firm that creates sustainable and actionable solutions. Okay, I'm also a certified church consultant with the Society for Church Consulting, and of course I got certifications from Church Consultation University. All right, I'm also your host to your live weekly broadcast show on Monday Morning Matters, 7 a.m. Nigerian time. I'm also known as the Church Health Guide, our church growth expert of the 21st century. A big thank you to all those who have been commenting, sharing our content, and reaching out to us and telling us how timely our content is. I'm thanking you from the depth of my heart for telling us, or sharing our content, for making comments on our broadcast show. Okay, if you love the church, you love the local church, you have got some good experience, you want to help more churches, you want to make sure you make some impact in the body of Christ, I will want you to reach out to me. You want to become a church consultant to help revitalize churches, please reach out to me. There's a massive discount going on right now. Take advantage of that massive discount to become a certified church consultant, so that you can be able to help your own church and also help other churches become healthier and get to grow as much as possible. So today we're going to look at uneasy signs to detect in a declining church, and easy signs to detect in a declining church. Okay, for to get a church to grow, there are a lot of things that you need to put in place for a church to grow. So it's not, and if you go to my previous live broadcast shows, you will see it clearly where I've made it mention that therefore a church to grow, there are some things you have to get right. There are some things you have to make sure they are in their right church growth mix for your church to grow. Okay, things like you have to be faithful to a unique vision God has blessed you with. You need to understand the why, the reasons, the DNA before you begin to start talking about the what and the how, or the strategy that you need to deploy. Okay, so one of the things I'll say straight up is that you don't have to wait for 10 years to see how things have gone bad. You don't have to wait to begin to see your dashboard for 10 years, for a long time, for you to know that certain things have been going wrong in your church. You don't have to wait for 10 years or more to establish that your church has been declining, or your church has been doing some unhealthy practices. You don't have to spend 3 months to know that what you're doing is wrong. Okay, you watching out for trends and patterns is a very fundamental instrument for any church leader to have. Okay, so that you'll be able to navigate your church in the right direction. Okay, for you to know how to track your vital signs, so that you can be able to give good direction. Whether your church is actually growing, or is actually on maintenance mode, or is actually declining. The importance of dashboard is so, very, very important. The dashboard helps you to know a lot of signs that your eyes might not be able to pinpoint, but because you are driving the vehicle, the organization, okay, you're able to see the dashboard, you're able to know what vital signs to look out for. And it's also good that local churches to get a professional outsider view to their church, so that you can be able to see things holistically, not allowing your blind spot to becloud your reasoning or your sense of wisdom in what you're doing in your church. It is easier to detect decline in finance and attendance, because that's what we readily want to how will I put it now, count, because every church wants to know how much is coming in. Everyone just wants to know what is coming to their front door. In terms of attendance, how many of the attendance. It's very easy for you to do that. Know what your attendance is in a couple of Sundays, or 3 Sundays in 3 Sundays, or 3 months, or the Sundays in 3 months, for you to detect the decline in attendance or decline in finance. Okay, and then you'll be able to know if attendance is going up, or attendance is going down, or giving is going up, or giving is going down. Just a simple line graph will be able to let you know those 2 metrics. But for you to be able to detect some more signs, it goes beyond attendance and giving. And so as a church consultant, we usually have a lot of data to be able to let you know that these are a combination of data to be able to say that your church is actually heading the right direction. Okay, I won't want to go into them, but these are 14 signs that I use to be able to assess churches in terms of attendance change, guest to attendance, conversion and baptism, young families, next generation, small group participation, volunteer participation, attendance to staff, per capita giving, weeks in cash reserve, debt to annual giving, percent of staff budget, attendance to seat as it relates to the seat of your auditorium, seating and parking space. And all these signs vary depending on the life cycle of the church, because some of these signs at the early stage of the church can be very, very, very. You can imagine you having high blood pressure when you are 17. It calls for a lot of more concern than when you have high blood pressure at the age of 75. So some of these vital signs speak more volumes than at different stages of the life cycle of the church. So there's wisdom in detecting trend before they make trends. It's easier for you to detect trends before those trends begin to affect your church health. It's better to address a negative trend before it becomes severe to manage. It becomes out of control, out of your jurisdiction to manage. So these vital signs can be watched every week, every month, every quarter, every year, and then year in, year out, to be able to know what kind of pattern. See, what the patterns that ensure that a church is growing is different from the patterns that ensure that a church is stable. It's also different from the patterns that ensures that the church is declining. Okay, from what you're seeing on the screen, you need to understand your church attendance pattern, and vis-a-vis the seasons of the church, so that you can be able to develop a wisdom in detecting trend before those trends becomes outdated. Okay, it's better to begin to notice those trends because before those trends begin to go on an autopilot, on a constant mode, to become something that you cannot manage at all. So typically, we can see that when you plot like 4 or 5 years together, in terms of attendance, you can see that there are certain seasons of the life cycle of the church that you have a dip, and those areas you can have a plan against those kind of dips, so that you don't repeat that trend in your church. There are certain dips that happens, okay, maybe in around April and October, September, October, March, April, and then September and October, you have those kind of dips, and then you find out why. Some people might be because of rain, some people might be because of school, some people might be because of one public holiday or one event that is going on in the district or in the city. You need to understand what is going on in your community to be able to have some form of impact in your community. So most churches have not passed the phase. I want to show my face. I've not passed the phase of full return back to COVID impact. Okay, because the COVID impact came, there's people stayed out of church, so we have not had a kind of complete return, a full return from the COVID impact. There's still people who have not come back to church yet, and you should need to have a strategy for you to have a kind of comeback event for people to begin to have to come out from the habit, because what COVID did was that they developed the habits of worshiping through digital means. But you have to be able to find a way, a strategy of getting them back to church as much as possible. You might not get 100%, but try as much as possible to get like 60 to 80%, and think you are doing good. But if it's below that, you have to find a way, a strategy of getting them back to church. The church will not come back to normal, to pre-COVID era, but we're going to come back to new normal. That's what Dr. Tom Rainer says, and I agree with that. Okay, there's some form of change that has taken place in our culture, in the way we see things, and we're going to begin to settle into the new normal. As church leaders, you need to understand the cycle and the patterns of growth in your church, in terms of attendance, in terms of every other thing. Okay, you need to do see all those trends in terms of the spiritual dimension of the church, in terms of soul dimensions of the church, and in terms of the body dimension of the church. Every culture and society and community has its own unique patterns, has its own unique trends, and that's why I always want to encourage churches to do community analysis. If you don't know them, you can't get them. If you don't know them, you can't love them. And if you don't know them, you can't reach out to them. Okay, you need to know them to relate with them. You need to know them so that you don't offend them, and the gospel will be relevant to them. So this affects and impacts how people are engaging, especially around special events in the calendar. So you need to understand how that influences what goes on in your church. What are the white spaces in your calendar that your congregation can take advantage of to be relevant also in their businesses, in their families? You need to provide information for congregation to plan ahead for big day events, so that they can be able to get some form of participation in your church. So the circle of church growth in your church calendar pattern, you need to understand what is the contributing factor, whether there are weather inputs, school openings, summer vacations, okay, other frequent alternative activities, sports, recreational activities in your district or your city or your country, and then you go to know. So for you to be able to watch trends, you need to be able to get someone who is data inclined, for you to look at your year's attendance graph in this format, to know what kind of trend that is going on in your church. Okay, church decline should be detected as soon as possible. Don't wait for too long for church decline to be detected. And sometimes attendance alone might not be what that what you need to go below just the attendance. Okay, church decline should be detected, should be avoided, and it should be reversed as soon as possible. The longer you wait for it to reverse that decline, the more work you are going to do what to get some form of change. As the thing is this, no church is immune to decline. No church is immune to decline. There is no law, there is no principles that guarantee that any church who is doing well will always do well. You have to do what it takes to do well for your church to do well. You have to do what it takes to do what is right to do well. And so every church who is on the top of the chart, there's no guarantee that you will be at the church forever. Now, one of the reasons why I would say is the reasons for decline is the issue of frequency of attendance. The infrequency of attendance is declining, and because of that declining factor, there is a decline in our churches. So there's also a correlation with the frequency of attendance and the increase in consumerism in our church. The more you give attention to getting more consumers rather than contributors in the church, you are not going to increase the frequency of attendance. So for you, do away with consumers and find ways to turn consumers to contributors. And once people are contributing, the frequency of attendance is going to increase. Church return has been slow, but you need to do something to make sure that they come back from those COVID-19 disruptions and see how your church can become better. I made a post on Facebook. Increasing your church retention is getting more difficult as people are more cynical and skeptical now than any other time in history. People are more alert. I mean, an average person who is not having access to phone is also having access to phone. Technology has made us to be more sensitive to certain things. People don't go visiting anymore because they have to call to know that you're at home. Unlike those days, you can visit somebody and the person is not at home and you go back. But right now, most people want to make a call first so they don't waste their time, they don't waste their energy to come to you to visit, and then they don't find you at home. So there are quite a lot of things that is making us well informed right now to make that informs that a church typically is going to do more work to get people to compel people rather to come to church. One of the things I'll say quickly is that don't only focus on the front door, also focus on the back door. Please get my book on church retention. Okay, church retention, the pathway to growth. Get my book. It's going to help you to understand some of the retention issues you need to address in your church, and then you'll be able to move your church to where God wants it to be. All right, so let's go quickly into the signs, and I will just want to mention just 3 of them, and then maybe on next Monday we'll dwell on those 3 and then another 3 so that we can take like 6. Take 3. I don't mention the 3 today because I'm running out of time, and then I just wanted to make some foundation, and then we'll go into this. So one is when there is a misalignment and failure of ministries, okay, to do the needful in terms of growth. Now, what I would say is this: every church has a vision, and every church has a primary ministry that is very vital to that vision and that mission, or the mandate of the church. And so I've seen churches who have that misalignment or failures in primary ministries. Okay, the auxiliary ministries are working, and so we need to make sure that auxiliary ministries are working and primary ministry is working. Now, what are the signs for you to know that primary are actually at their peak? That is it. Okay, on easy signs to go. You know, when your primary ministry has reduced in efficiency and effectiveness, you need to find a way of detecting that easily. If your primary ministry is working at 80% efficiency and it has dropped to 20% efficiency, you see, you cannot detect that in attendance and giving, but you can detect that when you put your eyes on the vital signs that is surrounding the primary ministry and the auxiliary ministry, and then find a way to what? Align them, make sure that the failure does not, or the deterioration that is taking place does not continue, because if it continues, it's going to create more symptoms that are unhealthy, and then you begin to have a decline in no time. 2, sporadic shift in attendance pattern and growth rates. Okay, when you have so you can see the graph is so sporadic, and you need to be able to take every dip individually. Okay, every dip individually. Okay, in this graph you can have like almost like 15 dips. What are the reasons for those dips in your attendance graph? So when you have sporadic shifts in attendance patterns and growth rates, you need to have a way to detect that church sign. Okay, this goes for also on-site and online experiences or attendances, because online is here to stay. There's nothing you can do about it. I've seen pastors who want to shut down their online presence so that people can come to church. No, everyone cannot come back to church. It's painful, but that's the truth. Everyone cannot come back to church. So have a way of detecting those signs at the sporadic shifts in attendance pattern and growth rate. What are the things that makes your growth rate to drop from a level down to another level? Week in, week out, month in, month out, quarter in, quarter out, and year in, year out. Okay, what are the shifts, the changes, attendance changes in between those attendances, and then see why are those attendance dropping and then also increasing. You have to be able to find a way. It's not easy to detect, it's not easy to monitor, but you have to be able to monitor it on the go. You don't have to wait for that long to see that things have been going in such a frequent pattern that you have failed to disrupt that kind of pattern. Number 3, wrong use of funds, especially for the back door and children ministry or student ministry especially. I'm just mentioning 3. You see, the church needs to find a way of ensuring that funds are actually where it matters, and you need to have a pie chart of a budget of how you intend to spend your money, and then you should find out that there should be a church sign to know how much you're spending on evangelism. Okay, spending on your back door. Okay, I know churches who spend more on the front door and they don't even look at the back door at all. Okay, you need to spend more on your back door as well, even much more on the back door, because there's a lot of work to be done at the back door. You need to put some good money also in the children's ministry, on the student ministry, so that it doesn't look like that's a lesser church than the adult church or the main auditorium, and see how you're going to balance those signs, that you have a good sign in the auditorium and also have a good sign in all the areas of your church. Okay, I've just mentioned those 3. I'm going to wrap it up here. I've gone beyond time. Please feel free to make a comment. Get my book on church retention. Okay, church retention, pathway to growth. It's one fantastic book. People have been ordering this book all over the country. It's on Amazon also. Please feel free to go on Amazon if you want a printed copy or a Kindle version. Get on Amazon. You're going to get the copy of this book on church retention, pathway to growth. Okay. Please feel free to also share our Facebook page, Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Subscribe, please. Subscribe to your YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe, and please give this video a thumbs up. If you need training for your leaders, I've just been doing training back to back in a church. Please feel free to call me. We can come do some excellent church consulting for health, vitality, and results in your church, to do trainings for your church. Because the thing is that people act what they know. People actually deliver what they can afford. They can't give what they don't have. And so you need to find ways to consistently expand your capacity to make sure that you are actually getting the needed impact in your church. So if this video has been good to you, please give it a thumbs up. Thumbs up. And then you have any question, any church related question, I've made some comments, you need some clarification, please, any of my social media handles, trying to chat with me. I'm the receptionist of my company. I love to engage with everyone who are engaging with me on my social media handle. You're surely going to get an answer from me, and then I'll be able to attend to you and give you more than an answer. Please like this video, give us a share to your community, drop us a comment. I would love to learn from you. I would love to hear from you. Drop me a comment in the comment section, and I will want to make sure I will respond back to you. We do consultations, we do trainings, we do revitalization and strategic planning. Reach out to us, and we'll be able to help your church move from where it is to where it should be in God. Till I come your way next week, Monday, with the continuation of the 12 uneasy signs to detect in your local church. And say bye-bye. God bless you, and I love you.